So we've got a preview of Purdue. Big game coming up. Tough game. We're going to have that out shortly, but also let us know in the comments if you want us to do a Matt Rule video. And I want to give you a little preview. So Gary, without spilling the beans too much, what do you know right now specifically about the likelihood that there's any shot of Rule being interested in the job?
I know he's fired. He's always been talked about as one of the top guys. Everybody was under the assumption he was going to get fired. That put him, I don't know that necessarily, but that made him an available candidate in a lot of people's minds, and they put him at the top of the list for us. There's a lot of, experts, so-called, around the country that have put him as the top candidate for Nebraska. I've heard rumors. I haven't heard anything from him or anything directly from him that he has no desire to go to college. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's there.
All right. Well, that'll be for next time. For now, let's stick to Mickey and the IGC situation. And we're going to have to talk a little bit about Whipple. But before we do, hit the like button for us, guys. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. So a little bit of Husker drama pre-game this Saturday. I think this goes back to Tommy Hill returning that kick. Actually, it goes back to him working out with the wide receivers and wearing number 2, which you called. Apparently, there was a promise to IGC that he was going to get a chance to really compete for the starting job at wide receiver. Whether or not Trey Palmer is just that much better than him, he and his father felt like that did not occur. Gary, what the heck is going on? Why did we lose IGC? And whose side are you taking in this?
I don't want to say always, but more often than not, I'm going to back with the school and the coaches. There's situations, and we talked pretty much through all of the Martinez era, that of course when you're recruiting guys, you're telling them it's every position, every week, whatever, is a competition. And I'm sure that's what they were all told, but I'm also sure, based on the way they came out of high school, the way they were recruited, the way things go, that Trey Palmer did beat everyone out. He's faster than everyone. He seems to have the surest hands. Now, IGC looked good that first game, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if you remember after the game when Casey Thompson was talking about when he threw him that touchdown pass, he thought he was throwing it to like Oliver Martin or something, right? So I don't think he was that big of a part of the game plan. Now, granted, he was in there at the beginning of the first game and all that, but when people leave, they're bitter. We've had other receivers leave that had issues with Frost or Frost staff. You're going to get it. You know what I mean? It's rare that people are completely happy and they love the situation they're in and the coaches and everything else. They don't leave. So obviously he's a little bit bitter. He leaves. I feel like Mickey was trying to, do the classy thing. And, he's not just talking to the fans when he does these press conferences, especially when he's talking about players. He's also talking to other guys that he might be or may be going to try to recruit. So I don't think he's going to bash somebody on the way out. But I think if you sat to him man to man and said, hey, what's going on? He's going to be like, man, we told everybody they compete. He competed. He was decent. He wasn't on that level. He thought he was way better than he was. I mean, we played sports growing up, man. How many times did you yourself think, but how many other players did you play with, whether it was basketball, football, any other sport, that felt like they were the guy on the team? Man, if I'd have got more shots, or if you give me the ball more, or whatever else, we'd have won. I mean, that's common, especially the higher level you get, the more competitive guys are. I just think it's, his dad commenting, I feel like kind of sparked this up more than it would have been. Guys leave all the time. Guys are going to come, guys are going to go, especially with the transfer portal. It's just the way it is. I just feel like this one got a little spike in notoriety and people talking about it because his dad was going back and forth with people on Twitter when they were saying, oh, he wasn't good enough to compete, or he felt like he should be up there, and he's chiming in saying his piece. And if nobody said anything, rumors will swirl for a day or two and then it's over with. But I feel like the receiver room's deep enough. Casey seems to really like going to Washington. Palmer seems to be the guy. The plays seem to be more designed for him. He seems to be the better athlete. I'm a huge fan of Monte Brown. I mean, Oliver Martin is constantly, up there with either the starters or the first rotation in. Omar Manning got hurt in the Rutgers game. But I mean, I feel like we're stacked enough at that position, especially now if you're going to move Tommy Hill over, who does seem to be more of an athlete than a lockdown corner like I was anticipating. I don't think it affects us or hurts us much. Like it sucks when guys leave. You always kind of wonder why, or you want to know the inside. But I don't know, man. What are your thoughts?
I think either way, IGC's dad is fighting a losing battle. Going against Mickey like this and trying to make Mickey look like the bad guy simply is not going to work, because Mickey has too much built up credibility at this point. To say that he's a piece of shit for saying that IGC was going to get a chance to be the number one guy doesn't track, because Mickey's not a piece of shit. Mickey's a stand-up dude. At least that's what everyone believes at this point. and rightfully so. He's super honest and forward with the media. He says all the right things almost all the time. So this whole trying to demonize him and make him look bad just makes you look bad because no one's gonna buy it.
Yeah.
I don't know that it makes IGC look bad, but it's just messy.
Yeah, I think that it might make it difficult for him to have maybe more options or be wanted by other schools. If it's like, okay, well, you played, or was he New Mexico or New Mexico State, and then you transfer to Nebraska in the first quarter of the season, you're ready to transfer out again.
Everybody can see that Palmer is the guy. It's clear as day.
Yeah, Palmer's the guy, but also like, I mean, are we getting a guy if we try to bring him in through the portal? Like say another top, Power 5 school. If they're looking at bringing him in as, what would they be bringing him in for? To be the number one. So like, is he going to drop back down in conference or school size so that he can be the number one? And then when you're looking at schools or you're trying to go to a school, pick your school, how coveted are you going to be when you've already transferred after 1 year and now you're transferring after 4 games, 5 games, whatever? I mean, if Tommy Hill's already wearing number 2, he was already off the team before the Rutgers game, right? So what kind of baggage are you bringing, if any? Not saying he's going to, but I'm saying like now that you're transferring from your second school in less than a year, then to me, that would kind of raise a red flag. But then the other one is like, okay, on your way out, I felt he did the classy thing. He put the tweet out like, thanks Nebraska, moving on, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's cool. Then I'm with Mickey. I don't blame these players one bit for leaving and going school to school. I've been saying that ever since they had back when you had to wait a year if you transferred. It's like, coaches don't have to do that. If you commit to a coach and he leaves, why can't you leave? Why do you have to wait a year of your life when football's such a prime driven game, such a tight window? If you have the ability to go pro, why should you have to waste a year when everybody else can, when the coaches, everybody that actually has contracts can bounce around and do what they want? So like, I don't blame him for that. I thought he did a classy thing by what he tweeted out when he left. But yeah, to me, man, it's just he's doing what I think every coach would do at that point. Even if they had some blowout falling out, I don't think Mickey or most other head coaches are the types that are going to come to the podium and be like, I can't, I'm glad his ass is gone. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what happened, the kid's leaving. It's a done deal. You take the classy move. You say nice things about him. You keep it short and you move on to the next question. It's not something, he wasn't a key part of the offense. I'm not trying to play off like the dude was garbage, but it wasn't some big back-breaking move or something. So it's like, yeah, say a couple of nice things about him and move on. I don't think it's a big deal, man. I think it got turned into a big deal over his dad responding and calling Mickey out, when over the last 4 weeks or so since Mickey's been there, he seems to just be building more and more positivity and backing from the fans. So it's kind of the first little bit of change in direction of somebody going against Mickey when it seems like it's literally everybody for him and gaining more steam.
I think we agree on that pretty much 100%. Tell me, if you don't mind, about the rumors that Coach Whipple is on death's door.
Is it that bad? I didn't hear it being that bad. Even the worst rumors, I didn't hear it being that bad. I mean, they obviously talked about it in the press conference, and Mickey said that he'd be fine. He was going through some things, had a cart for him. I'm sure everybody's heard the clip by now. And then the rumors have gone crazy from there. I've heard he's got heart issues. I've heard he's got blood clot issues. I think that makes more sense if you're putting him in a cart and doing things like that. But there's people talking about this is going to be his last game of the year, or at least until he's cleared, if he gets cleared or whatever. If that were to happen.
Let's take a look at Mickey's comments and exactly what he had to say about Whip, because he really plays it down.
Whipple's fine. Whipple's fine. I mean, he's dealing with some things, but it's not getting in the way of him working. He's shorter for the game. We had to put him on a cart. I mean, Whipple's been coaching like 40-some years. He should get a cart if he wasn't dealing with something. So Whipple's okay. Whipple's tough. Whipple's probably the toughest dude on the staff. Nobody don't mess with Whip, so Whip's okay. I wanted you to ask him that question too, and then let him get after you.
To me, Gary, it looks like he's really playing it off as if this is absolutely much ado about nothing. Whip's fine. Yes, we're holding him together with duct tape, and we have to get him in and out of here with a scooter, but he's so strong. Like, I'm worried about him as a man, not even as a coach at this point. He's a really good dude.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, man, it's all just kind of, people will take that little bit and make what they want out of it, right? And I don't know. I mean, to me, it's not a good take. It's not like, oh shit, this is hot deal, but it's like, just wait and see what happens. I mean, what can you do? You know, kind of like when Mickey was talking about if Reimer can't go or Newsom can't go, are you comfortable with the guys behind them? And he's like, I don't have a choice. I have to be. They can't go. I can't run with 10. I got to put somebody in. Same thing with Whip. Like, obviously everybody hopes that he can continue to coach the rest of the season. But if he has health issues that are bad enough he can't do his job, yeah, first off, you worry about a person's health and you hope that they're good or whatever else. But when you're not getting much more information, then yeah, he's fine. Okay, man, take it for what he said. Take it at face value. He's fine. If something changes between us last hearing Mickey say he's fine and he'll be good to go with his cart, then okay, he's good to go. And if something changes, then well, I guess we talk about who steps in as the play caller. But there's just not a lot to go off of, you know what I mean? Like if you sit there and go through social media and you start reading all the rumors of what people are saying is wrong with them, there's tons of shit to talk about. But until you hear something from the school or from Whipple himself or one of the, you know, Mickey or somebody else on the coaching staff, I don't know, man. I feel like the program has bigger issues to worry about than rumors about whether the offensive coordinator is potentially going to be out for a while. That's a big story. Don't get me wrong. It's a big story if he can't coach. But when they're not even talking about it or entertaining that idea, like, I don't know what you really go off of. What's your thoughts with it? I mean,
I'm just worried about Whip. I don't want us to be without a good play caller, and I deem him a good play caller, but he's an older guy. It's not nothing doing the job of a coach physically. There's a physical toll.
Oh,
you're doing a lot of standing. You know, a guy that age standing all the time. You know,
well, the stress alone. If it is
stress,
a cardiovascular, or, you know, any type of thing, a heart thing, a blood clot thing, whatever. Like, just stress alone is not helping you. If you can't do the play calling and the, you know, offensive coordinator job, you're looking at how many guys have already been shuffled around and taking on more responsibilities because we've lost Frost, didn't gain a guy, lost Shenander, didn't gain a guy. So now if we lose him, somebody's going to have to take on even more, or somebody who hasn't had to take on much more yet is going to have to take on more. But I would assume it's pretty finite, the amount of options you have when it comes to calling plays. My first thought would be Mickey would do it, but he kind of stepped away from, like, still being involved obviously with the wide receivers, but Frost did it for how long? You know, you can say what they want about how good or bad he did. I'm assuming Mickey would take over the play calling, but now you're adding that much more on the plate of the guy who has kind of, I use the word luxury loosely, but had the luxury of having Whip call the offense, Shenander, and then Bush calling the defense, so that he can do all the shit that needs to be done as a head coach to try and shift the culture back to more of a winning mentality. You know what I'm saying? And that's starting to work. So now if he gets the play calling duties dumped on him and that's his week, you know, setting up the offense and going through the play calls and getting everybody where he wants them and seeing who he wants at what positions and things like that, what's that going to take away from how much of the progress we've made with that setback? I mean, I don't know. But that's why I said there's a lot of what ifs based on this one what if. You know, what if he can't go on after this weekend? So I don't know. I'm not going to get too wrapped up in it until we hear more information. But like, I agree with you. I hope everything's good for the sake of him, obviously first, but then obviously for the sake of the program. You can't keep losing coaches across the board every couple weeks and expecting things to continue to get better. I mean, push comes to shove, man. We can always try to pry Scott Frost away from Arizona State or wherever he's hanging out. I mean, he's under payroll, so we might as well get something out of while we're paying him. He can come back, hold the clipboard for a few games, and get us through the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? I know that's what you've been clamoring for.
I think I'll put in a call to Mickey and see if he's willing to help us out.
All right, man. We'll be out with the Purdue video over the next day or so. See you guys then. Go Big Red.